Geralt of Rivia takes up arms against the forces of evil and tries to hunt down and exterminate evil from the world. Having been injured in battle, Geralt rests in Elendur's religious temple of Melidal where he reflects on events in his life. He was sleeping in the temple when the mute temple servant, Iola, wakes him and makes love to him. Both of them sleep off after making love. In his sleep, Geralt dreams of his fight with a powerful monster who inflicted an injury on him in Wyzime. Geralt's first contact with the voice of reason is through the warmth of a young lady. When he wakes up, he is encouraged by Priestess Nennek to take part in a trance to see his future. Geralt refuses to know the future. Subsequently, 2 knights of the Order of the White Rose, Count Falwick and Sir Talais, come to the temple to tell Geralt to leave town by the order of the Prince of Elendur. Geralt promises to leave in 3 days, but Knight Talais would not have that, and so he challenges Geralt to a duel. Geralt realizes the paradox of his profession. He kills monsters for a living. The more monsters he kills, the less monsters to kill. He shares this insight with his friend Dandelion. Dandelion, a minstrel, attempts to cheer Geralt. In the end, they both agree that change is inevitable to all. Realizing that being a witcher has become unpopular with the people, he eventually decides to leave the temple. Truly, trouble troubles those who trouble trouble. Geralt was stopped by a group of soldiers on his way out of the city. Talais wants his fight. The dwarf captain of the prince's guard, Dennis Cranmer, sets a strange rule for the fight to favor Talais. Geralt defeats Talais nonetheless and is allowed to leave town. Before leaving, he accidentally falls in the trance Princess Nennek requested of him. Geralt dismisses the vision despite the bloody tale it tells about his future and leaves Elendur. The Last Wish contains 6 short stories that explain his ordeal as he fights the forces of evil and tries to exterminate them from the world. Interspersed with the voice of reason, the stories presented in this book are riveting and hold deep messages for lovers of fiction. Here is a detailed summary of the book. Geralt is caught in a duplex conspiracy as he seeks to reverse a curse at the cost of his own life. The curse turned a girl born of an incestuous relationship between King Foltest and his sister Ada into a Striga. A Striga is a monster of terrifying size and superhuman speed. The king is insistent on keeping his daughter alive at any cost. He threatens to have Geralt killed if he suspects foul play. King Foltest's advisors, Siegelin and Valerid, believe his priorities are ill-placed due to the constant loss of lives. They conspire with Geralt to assassinate the Striga. In return, they offer half of the king's payment for reversing the curse. Lord Ostrit, a magnate from Novigrad, wants the girl to remain a Striga. He sees the Striga's terror as an opportunity to oust Foltest from the throne. He reveals to Geralt that he loved the girl's mother, Ada, whom he believes was taken from him by King Foltest. He attempts to kill Geralt when the latter refuses to accept his money and leaves. In the end, Geralt uses Ostrit as bait to lure the Striga and observes her in action. Using a combination of deft moves, precise strikes and strong magic, he manages to reverse the curse. The price for his success is a deep gash in his neck that left him unconscious for days. Geralt must accept help from religion if he wishes to understand the darkness that surrounds him. This is reinforced by Nennek's insistence that he participates in a trance meant for him. Nennek believes that a trance performed by Iola would shed light on Geralt's obscure nature, his powers, and his future. Geralt does not see any reason for the proposed trance. He believes religion and religious activities were invented for simpletons. He also sees no need for a trance as he does not believe in trances and vortexes. Lastly, he argues that his unbelief would make the trance session futile. Nennek counters that his unbelief would have no effect on the results. She believes a trance conducted using Iola's psychic powers would provide insight into Geralt's mystic nature, his powers and his fate. Geralt realizes that people and monsters are both capable of love and sacrifice as he battles a Bruxa. His path aligns with the Bruxa when he veers off the highway to inspect a death. He finds 2 corpses and decides to retrace their steps. This leads him to a castle that seemed abandoned. Within the castle, he meets Nivellen, a former thief who was turned into a beast by a temple's priestess when he raped her. Nivellen offers Geralt hospitality when he notices the latter is not scared of his appearance. Nivellen entertains Geralt with tales of his former life and his search for a cure to reverse the curse. He later confesses to Geralt that he now enjoys the privileges of the curse and no longer desires a cure. Geralt surmises that Verena, Nivellen's newfound love, was the reason for the change of heart. He warns Nivellen that Verena might actually be a monster. As Geralt leaves the castle that night, his mind wanders back to the castle. He returns to find his suspicions confirmed. Verena is a Bruxa, a powerful kind of vampire with telepathic powers and immune to silver. Geralt is overpowered in the battle that ensues but is saved when Nivellen drives a pole into Verena. Just before Geralt decapitates her, Verena telepathically expresses her love for Nivellen. The expression of love frees Nivellen from his curse, thereby making him human again. Geralt realizes that some evils must be allowed in order to achieve the greater good. Geralt hurls a monstrous creature he had killed into the town of Blaviken in hopes of a reward. Instead, Caldamain, the town's alderman, reunites Geralt with a magician named Stregobor. Stregobor declares he has no use for the creature but for Geralt himself. The conversation that ensues reveals that Stregobor, in his search for mutants, had attempted to kill a former princess-turned-assassin called Renfri. He justifies his actions by claiming he chose the lesser evil. Renfri now seeks Stregobor's life in revenge and will only stop at death. Stregobor begs Geralt to stop Renfri in her quest by killing her. Geralt refuses. Geralt and Caldamain meet the Renfri at the local tavern. She informs them that she and her mercenaries are under the protection of King Audun. That night, Renfri meets with Geralt in his room at Caldamain's home and attempts to persuade him to kill Stregobor. Geralt pleads with Renfri to let go of the grudge against Stregobor. Renfri says she cannot forgive Stregobor but she would leave Blaviken the following day. In the morning, Geralt realizes that Renfri planned to kill people at the Blaviken Market Festival in an attempt to draw Stregobor out. Geralt would not let that happen and so he massacres Renfri's mercenaries and then Renfri herself. He denied Stregobor the opportunity to perform an autopsy on Renfri's body after the fight. In the eyes of the townspeople, Geralt had just murdered innocent people. They retaliated by hurling stones at him. Geralt shields himself with magic until Caldamain tells them to stop. Caldamain, asks Geralt to leave as he is now the Butcher of Blaviken. Geralt discovers that love and destiny are intertwined. He makes this discovery at a party where he was presented as the Honorable Lord Ravix of Forhorn by Queen Calanthe, Queen of Sintra. The party was organized in honor of Princess Pavetta, who was the only heir to the Sintra throne. During the party, an uninvited knight arrives. With the Queen's permission, he introduces himself as the Urcheon of Erlenwald and asks for the fulfillment of a promise made to him by the late king, based on the law of surprise. The late king, King Rogner, had agreed to hand over his daughter, Pavetta, as gratitude for saving his life. Queen Calanthe knows the Urcheon's words are true but she does not want to give her daughter to a stranger. She attempts to find fault with the late husband's promise and incites the knights present at the party against the Urcheon. Geralt explains that the law of surprise requires Pavetta's consent before she can be taken away. The Urcheon had earlier told the queen he could not remove his helmet until the stroke of midnight. Midnight struck, and on the insistence of Queen Calanthe, the Urcheon removes his helmet, revealing the head of a beast. Queen Calanthe, self-assured, asks Princess Pavetta if she would go with the Urcheon. The queen is stunned when Pavetta chooses to go with the Urcheon. She sets her guards on the Urcheon and then collapses. Seeing the Urcheon attacked, Princess Pavetta fills the room with pure, primordial force. The force grew and puts everyone in danger as it could bring the castle down. Geralt, working with Mousesack, a druid who was also at the party, manages to bring Pavetta under control. Pavetta walks towards the Urcheon as his head began to transform into that of a human. Pavetta and the Urcheon reveal the Urcheon's name as Dunny and that they have been seeing each other for a year. Out of gratitude, Dunny tells Geralt to ask for anything. Geralt asks for that which you already have but do not know, thereby revealing to everyone present that Princess Pavetta is pregnant. His request is that the child should be raised as a witcher. Geralt shows hospitality to future enemies when an unusual hunt takes an unusual turn. The hunt takes place in Lower Posada when Nedely, a local farmer, and Dun, the local elder, asks Geralt to deal with a mischievous creature known to the villagers as a Dioval. They forbid Geralt from killing the creature. Geralt and Dandelion seek out the creature in the field. The encounter ends with the creature hurling iron rocks at the pair. At the village, Geralt demands more information from Nedely and Dun. The inquiry leads to a meeting with the village's old woman and Leal. Reading from an ancient book, the village old woman sheds light on the creature. Geralt learns the creature is in fact a sylvan. The villagers had applied the instructions in the ancient book to no avail. Geralt returns to the field the following day and challenges the sylvan to a game of "Don't do unto others what you would not have them do to you." They engage in a romp and are interrupted when an unidentified horse rider appears and knocks Geralt out. When Geralt comes to, he finds himself bound and face down, with Dandelion experiencing the same condition. He overhears the Sylvan speaking with someone in a language called the Elder Speech. He learns that the Sylvan's name is Torque and the other speaker is Galar, an Aen Sida elf. There are other Aen Sida elves present. Toruviel, one of the elves, utters invectives at Dandelion and the ability of humans to compose good music. She breaks Dandelion's lute and turns her focus to Geralt. Geralt, still bound, knocks her to the ground and breaks her nose. The other elves are prevented from killing Geralt in retaliation by the arrival of an elder elf called Filavandrel. The relief is only temporary as Geralt and Dandelion are tied to a pine tree awaiting execution by arrows. Torque rushes to their defense while Geralt attempts to persuade the elves to let Dandelion live. The elves are insistent on killing Geralt and Dandelion. The situation is resolved when the legendary Queen of the Fields appears. She communicates telepathically with the elves and asks them to leave. Filavandrel leaves after telling Geralt that they will one day meet on the battlefield and that he hopes the Witcher will not disappoint. Geralt promises to do his best. The tale ends with Geralt, Dandelion and Torque wondering where to go next. Geralt falls in love and puts his life on the line for a sorceress who had him imprisoned. He seeks out the sorceress when his friend Dandelion is attacked by Jinn during a failed fishing expedition. Dandelion had released the Jinn when he accidentally retrieved a vase from the river. When Geralt arrives at the gates of Rhine, he is denied passage based on the rule that no low-born person may enter the town from dusk to dawn without written permission from the king. Only a noble-born person could enter. He spends the night with two elves, Erdal and Chiradin, and a half-elf, Vradimir, in the gatehouse. There, he is informed that only one sorceress dares to perform magic despite the king's express ban on magic. She is Yennefer of Vengerberg and lives under the protection of the Novigradian merchant ambassador, Bo Barent. At daybreak, Geralt seeks out Yennefer at Barent's residence. After knocking out the guard, he goes in to find Barent, inebriated on the kitchen floor. Geralt notices the ambassador wanted to get apple juice for Yennefer. He decides to complete the task. Upon arriving at Yennefer's room, Geralt offers the apple juice to her and a serving of his sarcasm. Yennefer accepts the juice but is offended by his sarcasm. She fires a lightning bolt at him. Later, Yennefer agrees to help Geralt heal his friend. This is during a conversation where Geralt watches Yennefer bathe and grows an affection for her. Yennefer treats Dandelion in Erdal's inn. Chiradin warns Geralt to be on guard as Yennefer is not to be trusted. After the treatment, Yennefer asks for payment for her services. After a conversation, Geralt passes out and wakes up in a prison. His fellow occupants are Chiradin, an old man and some thieves. Chiradin explains that, under Yennefer's spell, Geralt had gone on a rampage throughout the town. He had publicly humiliated those who had insulted Yennefer and pushed for her removal from the town. 3 guards enter the cell. One of them taunts and punches Geralt while the others hold him against a wall. Geralt wishes aloud that the guard burst and the wish surprisingly comes to pass. The duo, Geralt and Chiradin, were brought before Neville, the town's mayor. While the mayor tries to understand the events, Dandelion drops into the room through a magical portal. He, Dandelion, asks that Geralt be declared innocent by the mayor. Soon a commotion occurs. Yennefer had dragged the Jinn into town and attempted to seize its powers for herself. The Jinn proves to be stronger and he begins to destroy the town in the struggle. Geralt rushes to her rescue. Yennefer refuses his help as she is bent on harnessing the Jinn's power for herself. Geralt realizes the Jinn cannot be captured by Yennefer because it is waiting for Geralt's last wish. The Jinn had previously granted his previous wishes. Geralt makes a final wish and the Jinn disappears. After that, Yennefer and Geralt make love. Conclusion. The last wish holds quite a number of invaluable lessons for those who seek deeper meanings. Each of the short stories told in this book can help shape your mind about the world, monsters, humans, and the sense of right and wrong. In The Voice of Reason, we learn that even the best of us require assistance when we are down. Geralt, despite being a witcher with regenerative abilities, sought out the help of his friend and healer, Nennek. The Witcher reveals that love mixed with power is a powerful force that can be wielded for good or evil. King Foltest, consumed by love, refused to kill his daughter turned Striga while she sent many to their early grave. A Grain of Truth teaches that the expression of true love can trigger change. Verina's dying confession of her love for Nivellen reversed his curse. The Lesser Evil reminds us that sometimes we must carry out unagreeable tasks for the good of others. Geralt had to attack men who had not yet committed a crime to prevent the massacre of an entire village. In The Question of Price, we learn that promises are meant to be kept, and therefore should not be made in haste. King Rognar's promise of his daughter to Dunny must be kept even if Dunny is a man with a monster's head. The Edge of the World reveals that we must share the world even with those we do not find desirable. Geralt's experiences prove to him that humans and elves both have a right to the world. The Last Wish proves that even in the worst situations, love can force one to make choices for the benefit of others at one's expense. Geralt, threatened by the rampage of the Jinn, makes a wish that binds him to Yennefer in a bid to save her life. Recall a time when you had to pick between two evils. Does the idea of picking the lesser evil relieve you from the guilt of having to do something bad to prevent something worse?